Hey gang, welcome back to Editing 101, our ongoing series in basic photo editing. One of the things you guys have probably noticed is that a lot of my photos are of the cosplay variety. I think I've mentioned previously I am primarily a cosplay photographer. One of the things that comes along with cosplay photography is wigs. Lots of cosplayers wear wigs, and the funny thing about wigs is they get torn up a lot. And when you're photographing a cosplay, they tend to make a mess of the editing a little bit, as is the case with the photo I have on the screen. This is from a recent photo shoot at SabaCon 2015 with cosplayer VertVixen, who cosplayed Cammy and was kind enough to shoot with me. If you look here in the picture, which I've done most of the basic editing on already, I haven't done the final color correction pass, but the general skin touch-up and so on and so forth has been finished. You'll notice that along the braids over here and along the side of the wig over here, there's a lot of flyaways on the wig, the kind of thing that you wouldn't notice just day-to-day looking at the wig in passing, but kind of shows up in a photo. And we want to clean this photo up as much as possible, which means we want these flyaways to go away. I'm not going to walk you through the entire editing process on this one like I normally do because this is a lengthy edit. It's a simple edit, but it's very time consuming and very detail oriented. What I am going to do is show you how to perform the edit and do part of it and leave you to do the rest on your own, simply because there's not really any difference in how the rest of it's done. It's just time consumption, time consumption, time consumption. So I'm going to work over on the right hand side of the wig over here, where you can see the mouse hovering. The first thing that I'm going to do, you'll notice over here in the layers pane, I've already duplicated my layer. If I poke the eye out over here, there's no difference between the two layers. Same layer no matter what I do. This is just a duplicate layer on top. You always want to do your editing on a duplicate layer. Now, you remember back from previous tutorials, particularly the tutorial that we did on how to colorize a backdrop, we did a selection of the area that we wanted to work in. We're going to do that again. We're going to grab our quick selection tool, and we're going to select the area of the photo that the flyaways are in, and then some. And there's a very particular reason that we're selecting this area in this case. We want to select the area that we want to edit in so that we don't destroy anything in areas that we don't want to edit in. That's very, very, very particular in this specific case. And we're going to go all the way down the braid because eventually I'm going to work my way all the way down the braid. I'm just going to work up in this area for the purposes of this tutorial. Now, once we've done a basic selection, we want to zoom into the photo and we want to clean up our selection a little bit so that only the areas that we want to edit are selected. This is very, very important this time. And that looks like a good general selection, so I'm going to go to my refine edge and I'm going to, of course, clean it up just a little bit as I've done in previous tutorials. This up here looks fairly clean. It's more the lower part of the braid that we're going to have to really worry about. And this is sometimes a little bit difficult to see exactly what it is we want to do because of the color. We're probably going to have to come in and do a little masking and manual cleanup after the fact too. Just sort of the nature of things with this type of edit. Kind of happens. But we want to create as clean of an edge as humanly possible here. And of course, all these things I'm doing with the editing of the mask, these are all things that you've seen me do before. Nothing new here. Shift that edge out just a little bit. Smooth it as much as we can. Program's being cheeky with me. Click OK. And like I said, one of the things that we just sort of have to accept is that there's going to be some manual cleanup after the fact. But what we've done here is we've selected the area that we want to edit in. And what's really important, these edges here that we've selected, we don't want our editing to crop over into these edges. We want it to be very clean. We want it to look as if there was nothing here. And we're going to start very simple with the larger flyaways. We're going to grab our spot healing brush tool. We're going to set it to a small size. And these individual, more separated out flyaways, we're just going to come over here and we're going to do by hand because these are real simple to get done. Well, they should be real simple to get done. My tool, it is not cooperating. There we go. Now the tool is doing what it's supposed to do. Photoshop, it's a glitchy mess sometimes. So like I said, just getting these larger, more individual flyaways done, just because it's real easy. And especially down like on this green backdrop area here, real easy to do. And you can come in here and, you know, kind of finesse those a little tiny bit. A pro tip, I'm not going to get around to demonstrating it in this video per se, simply because of the time constraints. But big pro tip, once you've done all the editing out of the flyaways on the wig, you can smooth the transition a little bit by doing a very light Gaussian blur on the backdrop as well. Don't want to overdo it, because then it becomes a very obvious Photoshop trick, and you don't want that. Notice, of course, up here I have my my type of healing brush set to content aware. That's very important for this. And now I'm going to get a little bit more judicious with that healing brush. This area up here is very blurred in the first place, so mistakes aren't easy to see. Now there's a little bit of a trick to this, and there it is right there. Notice that when I overdid the healing brush a little bit, I started to get, you know, other parts of the photo. Here's the thing about this edge we created. It keeps us from editing anything over to the left of the area that we selected, but it doesn't prevent the healing brush from bringing in pixels from the area to the left. It just prevents us from actually editing them. So that's where we have to come over here and grab a different tool. We have to grab our clone stamp tool, and we're going to hold down Alt, and click in the area that we want to pull pixels from, and then we're going to brush over with those pixels. And we have to gradually work our way over, but we can do larger swaths of area in this manner. And it gives us a little bit cleaner edit. And note that it has a similar difficulty in pulling pixels to that of the spot healing brush, but it's not as severe by any measure. It gives us a bit more control. But notice now we're getting there. And you can see already I'm kind of having to, I'm getting into spots I'm going to have to do some cleanup. So I'm going to show you here in just a second what that looks like with the cleanup. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab my smudge brush. Now, qualifier here. The reason that we are able to do this with a smudge brush is because of the fact that the background is blurred in the first place. We wouldn't be able to be quite this liberal with the smudge brush if we had a backdrop that was crisply in focus. But because the backdrop is blurred and kind of ill-defined in the first place, we can get away with this. We'd have to be a little bit more precise if it wasn't. So there we go, a little bit of cleanup just like that. While I was doing that, I noticed up here I missed a couple spots. So I'll go back to my healing tool. And actually, no, those are tiny little spots, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the spot healing brush and just kind of brush those out a little bit. And then again, I'll hit the background with a light Gaussian blur when I'm done, just to clean that up a smidge. And these smaller areas, again, I can hit with the spot healing brush. So that's all there is to doing basic cleanup of flyaways, and I'm not going to bore you with the big, long, prolonged process. It's the same thing over and over again all throughout the editing of the wig. I just wanted to give you a quick little demo on that. And then just like I cleaned up the edges here with a smudge brush, you can also do that along the hairline and along the line of the bodysuit if you're super duper careful about it. It's a little bit of precision handwork, but it's not that bad. So that is how to clean up wig flyaways in Photoshop using the spot healing brush, the quick selection tool, and the clone stamp tool. Stay tuned for future tutorials. I have a few ideas in mind coming up. I'm probably going to teach you how to do light body enhancements in a future tutorial. That's probably what's coming up next. So stay tuned, and thank you.